This week of Melted Reality, we stick it to the man by turning these cheap dollar store LEDs into convenient studio lighting. Let's get going. Anyone who's lived in an apartment before knows how crappy the lighting is. For me, I have to work in my kitchen where the lighting still isn't the best and there's not that great access. And I could always buy just regular studio lights from Amazon, but they're pretty expensive, and then your only option to expand is to spend more and more money, whereas I'd like to save that cash for more important things. And with equipment like this, I like to be able to customize it and expand it as needed without too much hassle. So to start, I went to the dollar store and picked up a couple of these cheap LEDs. There's 6 little LEDs per light, and they put out about 150 lumens each, and I'm pretty sure adding a second just doubles the lumens. And because I wanted to put some miles on my new calipers, here are the dimensions. I also had this USB power supply from a dodgy desk fan that I wasn't using anymore, and it puts out about 5 volts. Next I broke out my electronics kit and put together a test circuit. Each of these lights requires about 4.5 volts in, so I added a resistor and it worked. It also didn't explode when I bypassed it and got brighter lights. Plus, my electrician father said this is totally fine, so if there's ever any fire damage, he's now legally responsible. And as expected, adding the second LED also worked. Next, I wanted to reuse some of the plastic that came with all these lights, so I used Gorilla Glue to stick them all together. I also had this box lying around that I thought I could make a shade from. I thought that it would also help to diffuse the light a little bit. But in the end, it didn't really do much, as you'll see in a minute, and I got rid of it by the end of the project. And then it was time for an epic soldering montage. Followed by a quick integration test. Success! Oh, and there's a switch now too. So I was happy with the final assembly and started playing around with the shade, just testing out the positions and orientations of things. But as you can see, it really wasn't making much of a difference and was just going to end up being unnecessary bulk, so I cut everything out of it. For phase 2 of the project, I went back to the dollar store like a weirdo and bought a whole bunch more of these LEDs. Then repeated the same epic soldering montage, which totally happened, I just didn't bother recording it. Oh, whoops, that's just me setting the world record in direct strike against my friend. GG's. And for the final stage of the build, I had to mount everything to a new mop handle. Conveniently, it fit inside this soft drink bottle. Pepsi Max for the discerning gentleman. I also had a bunch of hobby sand that has been in my cupboard for like 5 years, so I added this to the bottom to give it a bit of weight and make it less top heavy. Hot glue sealed it all in place. And then precision electrical tape to mount it to the top. So all up, I spent about $7 on materials per light at the dollar store. I already had a soldering kit and some wires and switches, but realistically anyone attempting this project is already going to have a soldering iron, or will be able to get one and use it for hundreds of projects to come. The same with all the recycled materials as well. The elephant in the room, though, is that the day after I finished all this stuff, I found this light bulb plug adapter. And it doesn't have an on-off switch or anything as fancy as that, but when you pair it with an extension cable, it literally becomes plug and play. Oof. So I overcomplicated my builds more than I should have, but was it a waste of time? And will all of my builds be this jank?
What's the lesson here?
Well, the answer is no, and they're still useful. I've used them already, and small projects like this can help you get into that makerspace and get through any just writer's block equivalent for doing projects like this. Plus, it was a low-risk, low-stress project to test out my editing and production pipeline, so I call it a success at this point. And plus, it also got me to organize a couple of my equipment boxes and get things ready for what's coming up. So let me know in the comments what other tools I can make cheaper, janky versions of. I'm already thinking of a hot wire cutter or some sort of a micro-scaled bench saw for tiny bits of material. But yeah, let me know.